Hello, friends. This is Professor Googlow. Today's video will be a little unusual, but I'm sure you will like it. So, get comfortable and let's go. Proof that Cleopatra was not beautiful. Artifacts that can change history. During excavations in Tapaciros Magna, an ancient city in northern Egypt, archaeologist Kathleen Martinez and her team discovered a vast tunnel complex over 4,000 feet long. In fact, they discovered a huge religious center with 3 sanctuaries, more than 1,500 artifacts, busts, statues, and gold coins. But the most interesting discovery was the complex of tunnels leading to submerged structures. The archaeologist believes that she has finally discovered Cleopatra's lost tomb. If this is true, the find will become the most important discovery of the 21st century. Today, you will learn how the rulers of ancient Egypt entertained themselves, where hobbits really lived, and what they looked like. Cleopatra, the last queen of ancient Egypt who possessed real power, ruled from 51 BC to 30 BC and is still a very mysterious figure. From what we know about her, Cleopatra was an outstanding woman with unprecedented wealth and power. She became queen at the age of 18. She spoke 9 languages, studied politics, economics, and mathematics, and was, in general, a smart and outstanding politician, one of the first, if not the first influential woman in history. And of course, when talking about Cleopatra, her beauty cannot be ignored. But here's the problem. Most of the information about the queen came to us from the Romans, who considered her a rival of their country. Imagine being asked to describe your jealous colleague or unpleasant neighbor. How truthful would that description be? According to legend, Cleopatra tried to outsmart everyone by hiding the location of her eternal resting place so that it would never be found. And, judging by the fact that her tomb has not been found yet, Cleopatra did an excellent job. The Romans never found the queen or her burial place. However, the discovery in Tapaciros Magna may soon change that. If the tunnels do indeed lead to the tomb, it could very well belong to Cleopatra and her husband, Mark Antony. According to Plutarch, when Augustus and his Roman troops invaded Egypt and captured Alexandria, Mark Antony fell on his sword and died in the arms of Cleopatra, after which he was buried in a mausoleum. 2 weeks later, Queen Cleopatra visited the mausoleum to make offerings and then allowed herself to be bitten by a poisonous snake. A tragic love story and all that. Until now, no tombs of rulers from the Ptolemaic dynasty, that is, those who ruled Egypt after Alexander the Great, have been found. If the burial place of Cleopatra and Antony is discovered, it will give archaeologists decades of work. At the very least, we will learn about what Cleopatra looked like and how she died. And in the best-case scenario, we can learn much more about her life and Egyptian customs of that time in general. The latest information about the alleged tomb of Cleopatra was released in November 2022, so it is still unclear what exactly scientists have found. And yes, we know so little about Cleopatra that we have no idea what she actually looked like. The queen is constantly depicted as a beautiful seductress, and men were willing to give up their lives to spend one night with her. But archaeological finds show that this image may not be entirely accurate. The latest discovered source about Cleopatra is a tiny silver coin that is about 2,000 years old and depicts the Egyptian queen with a low forehead, pointed nose, narrow lips, and an unremarkable chin. Yes, beauty standards have changed over 2,000 years, but even by ancient standards, Cleopatra was not considered beautiful. The widely circulated image of Cleopatra as a beautiful ruler adored by Roman politicians and generals seems to have been largely fabricated in a later period. Roman writers tell us that Cleopatra was intelligent and charismatic, and that she had a seductive voice, but they say nothing about her beauty. Not a word. Historians have nothing resembling a portrait to make assumptions about Cleopatra's appearance. The best clue we have are coins and Egyptian reliefs, which are likely unrealistic and created to deceive the eyes of subjects, just like marble busts. Not very reliable sources, to be honest. Modern scholars rightly doubt that Cleopatra could have governed a country and made alliances solely thanks to her beauty. The queen was highly intelligent and educated, and she was damn good at manipulation. Historians disliked the idea of a woman outwitting her male contemporaries, so they attributed her success to her looks. Nevertheless, Cleopatra took care of herself. One of the beauty treatments often attributed to her was bathing in donkey milk, which was believed to make the skin softer, whiter, and remove facial wrinkles. Today, the benefits of this procedure seem dubious, but hey, ancient Egyptians were not very good at cosmetic science. Scientists also believe that they have been able to recreate the perfumes used by Cleopatra using a very clever X-ray fluorescence technology. This allowed researchers to analyze the molecules found in the bottles of perfume used by the queen. After numerous experiments, they were able to create a pleasant scent with base notes of myrrh and cinnamon, as well as other accompanying ingredients. Although this is not a 100% accurate scent that Cleopatra used, it is close enough to allow one to smell the queen's perfume. This can be done at the National Geographic Museum, where the perfume is called Eau de Cleopatra. It is worth mentioning that bathing in donkey milk is not the most unusual whim of the pharaohs. The ancient Egyptian pharaoh Pepi II lived from around 2300 to 2206 BCE and ascended the throne at the age of about 6. Naturally, his mother ruled instead of him. Pepi II was a child with a vast kingdom at his disposal, and as you can imagine, this did not go unnoticed. Pepi II was very spoiled. Soon after he became pharaoh, an explorer wrote a letter to him reporting that he had seen a dancing dwarf. The pharaoh reacted to this like any child. He was thrilled and wrote a letter that historians consider to be one of the most humane letters that have come down to us. Here is what Pepi II, who was about 8 at the time, wrote. "Hurry and bring this dwarf to me alive and well so that he can dance the dance of the god, so that he can please my heart, so that he can delight my heart. When he comes down with you on the ship, find worthy people to be with him on the deck. Don't let him fall into the water. When he goes to sleep at night, find worthy people to be with him in his tent. Check on him 10 times a night." There is also information that adult Pepi II hated flies so much that he would smear his slaves with honey so that they would distract the insects and keep the flies away from the pharaoh. However, despite all this, Pepi II ruled for 64 years, according to some reports, 94 years, but this seems to be a common ancient Egyptian exaggeration. At that time, it was common to write that pharaohs ruled the country for 100 years or more. How else could it be if pharaohs were similar to gods? We seem to have gotten too distracted by pharaohs. Let's talk about hobbits who really existed and didn't have hairy feet. The real hobbits lived not in the Shire, but on the Indonesian island of Flores. Let's go back in time. At the beginning of this millennium, most paleoanthropologists believed that only modern humans of our species, Homo sapiens, were capable of traveling beyond the continent. It seemed unlikely that ancient humans had ships capable of crossing the ocean, but everything changed in 2003 when the remains of our ancient ancestor, a very small-sized one, were discovered on the island of Flores. Its tiny brain and strange primitive features sparked debates about its place in the human family tree. Researchers initially thought they had found an ancient human with microcephaly, a condition characterized by a small head and low stature. But later discoveries of skeletons of the same size proved that the hobbit was not an individual tiny human, but a representative of a whole species. Homo floresiensis was one of the last extinct species of humans. Our distant relative disappeared about 50,000 years ago, shortly before or during the time when Homo sapiens appeared in the region. These hobbits were very small, about 1 meter tall, weighing about 55 pounds, and their brain size was about 376 cc, roughly 3 times smaller than ours. Well, as I promised, the video was interesting. So, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.